Well, hey everybody, I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you're all having a good weekend out there. My Saturday's going very well. I kind of powered down today. I haven't done a whole lot, but I've been a little productive, so that's okay. I give myself permission. Went down south this morning. Didn't find anything but watermelon, but it was worth it. I would have gone down anyway, and I got monster watermelons. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to show it to you now, but I'll show you tomorrow when I get back to food. Anyhow, today my talk is about finding happiness and another way of looking at it. Guys, I do videos every day, so if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you go down and hit that subscribe button now. Then be sure you click on the little bell and check send notifications to stay subscribed to the channel. I'm going to do a little reading here and then talk on it a little bit. Don't take me too seriously. It's funny. I like these Saturday talks. It doesn't happen every week, but it's fairly common. There's always somebody that wanders in. I'm calculating the time, and I'm thinking it's middle of the night, 3 in the morning. God only knows what they're on at that time. That gets so deep with the simple thoughts that I do that it's like, what are they talking about? But it's very entertaining, so I always enjoy that aspect of it. Today my reading, and I'll tell you something. I'll kind of tell you my process on these weekend talks when I do them. Well, some of the time, not all the time. A lot of times when I'm winding down at night, laying in bed with the TV on, I got my phone out and I'm, searching things, reading things just for my own interest and taking notes. Things pop in my head. So I'd made some notes, and then I just started Googling and Googling some terms from my notes, and almost immediately something popped up and jumped out at me. Now, this is actually not from any spiritual text or anything like that. This is from Psychology Today. And I really liked this a lot. I liked the way she was thinking here. It's the author is Tony Bernard, JD, whatever JD is. I guess that's like some sort of a title afterwards. I'll try to remember to link this one down below since this actually is from online. Some months ago, my husband and my granddaughter, Malia, were having a great time together, even though they live 400 miles apart. They were on their respective iPhones FaceTiming as they planned his upcoming trip to see her in Los Angeles. He visits on his own because I'm not able to travel due to chronic illness. Malia had propped her phone against the back of the washing machine and was doing her laundry. They were chatting about places they might go and things they might do. At first, I was enjoying listening to them. Then unexpectedly, I began to feel sad. Soon that sadness turned to envy, and it wasn't long before I began spinning stressful stories about my life. I'm the one who grew up in Los Angeles. He didn't. I'm the one who was supposed to take Malia to all my favorite places, the Santa Monica Pier, the La Brea Tar Pits, Westwood Village, and UCLA. I couldn't bear to listen to their happy talk for one more minute, so I got up, left the living room, and headed for the bedroom. Once there, the pain of envy was compounded by a negative self-judgment. It's selfish of me to be envious of the time they'll be spending together when I love both of them so much. As I was stewing in this envy and self-blame, my husband suddenly showed up, iPhone in hand, and lay down on the bed next to me. He was still FaceTiming with Malia. He had no idea why I'd left the living room, so he'd come into the bedroom to allow me to be part of their conversation. Malia had now moved from the laundry room to her bedroom and was engaged in that burdensome childhood task of picking clothes up off the floor. A directive, no doubt, from her mother, my daughter. I couldn't very well get up again and leave the room, so I decided to work on opening my heart to their happiness. I began with a dose of self-compassion by acknowledging how hard it is not to be able to spend time with Malia in Los Angeles. That alone lessened envy's tight grip. Gradually, the sound of the two of them having fun together brought me out of my funk, and it wasn't long before I even felt good enough to join the chat by adding in some suggestions of my own. My envy had turned into happiness for them, and being happy for them made me happy too. Here's my recipe letting other people's joy make you happy. 1 dose self-compassion. Envy is a common reaction to hearing about or being in the presence of others who are having a good time. So if you're feeling envious, cut yourself some slack. You can't control the emotions that arise in your mind. What matters to your well-being is how you respond to that envy. On that score, you have 2 choices. You can respond with self-blame or with self-compassion. Self-blame never makes us happy, so instead of judging yourselves negatively for feeling envious, cultivate compassion for the reason you're feeling the way you do. Here are the words I spoke silently to myself as I resolved to put aside self-blame. It's understandable that I feel envious. After all, I thought I'd be the one to show Malia my favorite places. This is really hard. Filling your heart with self-compassion is the perfect antidote for any painful emotion, including a negative self-judgment. Speaking compassionately to myself about my inability to be with Malia in Los Angeles enabled me to accept a circumstance I have no power to control. It also helped me realize that neither my husband nor Malia wanted their conversation to make me unhappy. In fact, they were making an effort to include me. Looking at it from their point of view opened my heart enough that I began to share with them in a way that was possible for me. Yes, I couldn't visit Malia in Los Angeles, but I could join their chat about where to go and what to do, and so I did. And that made me feel better. One dose joy for others. At first glance, feeling joy for others might seem easy. Why wouldn't you be happy for someone who is feeling good? Well, so long as that other person's happiness is the result of something you don't particularly crave, like winning a gold medal at the Olympics, it's easy to be happy for them. But it's not so easy when another person's happiness is due to something you wish you could have or experience yourself. This was why I was struggling to feel happy for my husband and Malia, even though I love them with all my heart. Here's a secret I've learned about cultivating joy for others. You can fake it till you make it. What I mean is that if you pretend that you're happy for another person, eventually that pretending becomes genuine. The only prerequisite for this is to work is that if you're feeling envious, you put aside any negative self-judgment about it. And so when I finally rejoined that FaceTime chat with my husband and Malia, I began by pretending that I was happy for the two of them. It didn't take long for that pretending to turn to genuine happiness for them. I think this happens because it feels good to be happy for others, and so your body and mind pick up on the pretend good feeling and make it real. Putting the ingredients together. By putting self-compassion and joy for others together, not only can you feel happy for other people, but that good feeling in turn can make you happy too. A few years ago, I not only felt envious of one of my husband's trips to see Malia, I was downright resentful. Envy arises when you want what others have or can do. Resentment is also present if you believe you're not getting it because of some perceived injustice in the world. My husband had bought tickets for the two of them to go to Fiddler on the Roof. This musical is special to me because my father's family immigrated from modern-day Ukraine to the United States in the early 1900s. They left because of the pogroms against Jews. Fiddler on the Roof was my story, and I wanted to be the one to take Malia to see it. As a result, instead of feeling happy for them, I felt envy and resentment. Resentment in the sense that I felt I was the victim of some terrible injustice because I'm too sick to travel. It's not fair, I protested. With effort, I was able to turn my misery around. I started by evoking self-compassion for how hard it was not to be able to take Malia to Fiddler. Being kind to myself in this way enabled me to drop the painful stories I was spinning about how unfair life can be. It also made it easier to look at their plans through their eyes and reflect on how they wouldn't want their evening at Fiddler to make me unhappy. Then I turned my attention to feeling joy for them. Yes, at first I had to pretend that I was happy for them, but that's okay. It didn't take long for that pretending to turn into genuine joy for the two of them. And before long, I was feeling happy myself at the thought that Malia was finally getting to see a musical that was such an important part of my life. I even spent some of the evening singing my favorite songs from Fiddler. I deeply value the practice of feeling happy for others. I call it a practice because it takes practice. When I first became chronically ill, just thinking about people going places I could no longer go and doing things I could no longer do made me so unhappy that I couldn't feel joy for them at all. I felt envy and resentment, along with self-blame for feeling those emotions. After several years, I was able to turn this around, even though I still have to consciously work at it. Begin by speaking to yourself in a compassionate voice. This will enable you to accept your life as it is, and from this place of open-hearted acceptance, you can work on feeling happy for others. The true wonder of this is that the more you're able to feel happy for others, the happier you'll feel yourself. That was a good one right there. Now, it just came from, I was thinking the other day, sometimes I'm looking at stuff on social media. I think this was somebody's child I saw. And I noticed, like, this child, I'm not a big kid person. I'm not all this, every kid, oh gosh, isn't that cute or whatever. But I like kids. I find it's like adults, I find kids, I'm like, wow, I genuinely like that kid. Or I see, And when I see a pure expression of happiness on a kid's face, when I see a pure smile, I'm not talking about some fake little, trying to make up faces or whatever, but just pure heart coming through the smile, it does something to me. I just feel really good about it. And I've kind of taken that to, into a bigger arena. And it's like, even with other people, I enjoy seeing other people expressing genuine happiness, real happiness, simple happiness at just everyday things in life. Generally it's about not material things or whatever. The genuine happiness is about some interaction with other people or some interaction with nature. But anyhow, maybe try looking at it like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.